Hello and welcome to the Fit Executive Show. Your host, Arne Wildner, lost 50 pounds himself before helping hundreds of other entrepreneurs and executives sustainably lose weight and take charge of their health. In the Fit Executive Show, you'll learn field-tested weight loss strategies and how to effectively juggle your successful life and staying fit at the same time. Please welcome your host, Arne Wildner.
Or my white calves, you see?
I do see that, yes.
Did you see the game at all?
Nope, I did
You
not.
gotta what?
Did you have a chance to catch them live in the stadium?
Yeah, no, we were at the game. Yeah, that was great.
Awesome. Yeah, congrats.
100%.
That's rock and roll. Yeah, welcome to the show. Here we are. Why don't you start out by introducing yourself? Who are you? What do you do? What's your situation?
So I'm a Boyer. I'm a father, a husband, small business owner, and employee as well. Kind of do a little bit of everything. I'm a coach.
What do you coach?
I coach girls soccer. So right now it's under 18. Yeah.
Your
So
daughter, right?
It's my daughter's. Yeah, it's my daughter's
Yeah.
team. So
Oh,
it's been
cool.
last about 3.5 years. So that's been a lot of fun. And this should be the last one because then they kind of age out, and then it'll be up to her if she decides to continue to play. So yeah.
Share your story. You've
think
had
even
a
just
lot going on over the last couple of years, so I want you to tell it.
And I think what's interesting was, because your team reached out to me. That was kind of the interesting thing. So part of what I wanted to say today is be open to a connection, right? Because I wasn't connected with your team before responding to that message. And then I was kind of like, you know what? I'm willing to listen, right? I'm willing to hear. I knew I definitely wanted something different in my life. My wife and I have gone through like 10 years of infertility, and that takes an emotional toll, which took a physical toll, which took a financial toll, all those things. But at the end of the day, my life wasn't going to be getting longer or bigger or better, kind of just sitting in that. So we were kind of going through a healing process. And part of my healing process for myself was to focus on me. And so when I started to look at that piece and what was lagging and what was missing was, and timing wise was pretty close because it was just after my birthday. Right.
Oh,
so
cool.
our team connected sort of just after my birthday. And so when you hit birthdays, I do a lot of reflection, typically to say, what was that previous year and what do I want the future to look like? And one thing that I realized at that time was turning the age that I did, I had been 30 years trying to hit a goal that I haven't done. And Arne, I got good people. I got great people in my life. Lots of them in fitness and nutrition and health and that type of thing. And a lot of them have helped me along the way, but I still hadn't hit that actual target and goal that I wanted to do. So when you look at that, it's kind of like, why? Right? Because whatever I was doing was working to a degree, but not working completely. So that's why at that time I was open to say, you know what? I definitely am open to getting help for this and to get serious, right? To truly get serious and to invest in oneself. When I think about how much money I've spent in business, when I've spent on my daughter, when I spent on, like all the other things, it's a lot. But then how much do I invest in myself other than, professional development and personal development, like those types of things I've definitely done in the past, and I've hired previous coaches and that kind of thing as well. So that component, but truly at this point in my life, what had I done for myself? Nothing for quite a while, right? And so the timing of us, you can call it serendipitous or whatever the case may be, but the timing of us coming together and your approach, and when I listened, it was more than just kind of like, hey, go and follow these things and good luck and that type of thing. I didn't feel like that. I felt like I was going to be supported. I've been an accountability coach, so I know the power of that, right, as well. And you didn't, there was no holes in what you were offering to me. That's why it was like, our conversation, I don't know if you remember, but our conversations were usually pretty quick. It was like, this is kind of what we do. And, and like I say, it starts off really easy. Because it's just to kind of get to know and where are you at and then where do you want to be. And I really appreciated that because that was it. And it's kind of like, great. And here's how we can help you. Now we're, all I have to say is yes. And the rest was taken care of, right? The rest was taken care of. And then we just walk through the process, walk through the steps. And each one of those steps built on the next one. I'm a very big baseline person. I talk about establishing a baseline. I do it all the time when I talk to business clients and coaching clients, just kind of understanding where are people at, and then where do you want to be, right? And so
Okay.
for me, I knew where I was at, and it wasn't where I wanted to be.
Where were you at before you joined us?
Yeah, I was probably the second heaviest I've been in my life, and I was an emotional eater at that time, and I went through a lot of emotional situations, so I ate a lot. And because I didn't create and continue having good habits, then the habits that I had continued. You know what I mean? Like when I say it like that, it's a pretty simple recipe, like as far as that goes. You create the habits, then once you have the habits, you just ensure that they continue as long as they're the proper habits. And that was what I really liked in working with you and your team was we could tweak those things as it went along. And if, like I was fortunate that I had progression pretty consistently throughout.
Yeah.
There wasn't much dip for me. And so I
Yeah.
was fortunate in that. The other place I'll say, and I don't know that we talked about this much, but I went on Sazenda, right? I went on like a product to help me with, restricting my cravings and that type of thing. And that worked to a degree, but then it stopped working. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what I mean. So it's not like I wasn't doing anything I did, but I had probably plateaued for over a year, like maybe 14, 15 months at that point, which is why, again, when the call came through, I'm like, yes, I know I need to do something different. This doesn't take care of it. This helped me to a certain degree, getting out of the biggest amount that I was. That's why I say it's the second biggest amount because the first step got me to that. But I hadn't budged. And, we started talking. I hadn't been to the weights that I started to hit with you for over a decade.
Yeah.
Over a decade.
How much did you weigh before you joined us?
So our starting amount was 258.
258. Okay.
I started the year well before I started the previous year at 278.
Okay. Wow. And how much do you weigh now?
I'm down to 233.
Wow. Congrats.
25
and that's
pounds.
in roughly 3 months.
Well, 3 months, yeah.
3 months. Awesome. Good job, man. Good job. When you were at the 270-ish,
yeah,
how did that show up in your day-to-day life?
Like it shows up everywhere. It shows up in how you feel. Like so bonuses, you don't want to shop. Shopping's miserable, right? You're just basically what canvas is going to fit on me, and you know what I mean? Like it's not enjoyable. You're literally just looking to cover your body. That's it, and I stopped caring about what size I was. I just wanted to like find something that fit. That's really where I was at that time. If it fit me, I'm like, okay, that's good. But it didn't make me look good. It didn't make me feel good. It was just literally getting dressed for the sake of not being naked at work, or something like that. It's like, so that's a different mindset versus, since being on the program and working with your team, now it's kind of like, oh, I went and, I was able to go to the back of my closet, right? Like I was able to go to that one day kind of section of the closet and start pulling things out. And, I had beautiful things. I had great shirts. I had, like some nice clothes. All of a sudden started putting them in. And the other side of it, where some of those other clothes, I had like a custom suit made for my wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't fit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't fit. You're like, great. Like, great, because it should fit. I don't want to be that size.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that size. It doesn't feel good. Yeah.
Wow. So that's a one aspect, the shopping. What thoughts went through your head at that time?
Yeah, and even just body wise, like this, your joints are sore. Like it, like I coach a girls team. It's a struggle to be out there running with, 16, 17-year-old girls. You're like, okay, yeah, I'll get that. It'll take me a few minutes, right? Like as opposed to now, I'm like, yeah, let's go, and I'm looking to be in the games and kind of, compete with them sometimes and that kind of thing, which changes their intensity and that sort of thing as well. So, I think one of the things I mentioned in one of my weekly reports, because again, the accountability component is, to be able to do an activity without having sore knees. It was kind of like, it wasn't even a thought for me because they'd been sore for so long.
Yeah.
You know,
and now
like over a decade of sore knees. And granted, I've had certain injuries, and like I've had 2 ACL reconstructions. I've had
Yeah.
osteoarthritis diagnosis when I ran marathons and that
Yeah.
sort of stuff, right? And so all these things kind of end up being obstacles and excuses and that type of thing. But to all of a sudden do make some of those shifts and then be like, hey, that felt good. Like I remember
Yeah.
reporting, be like, yeah, that was fantastic. Like over an hour exercise, and that was a hike, right? It wasn't just part of
Yeah.
what you were designating for me to do. That was on my own accord. Something
Yeah.
that I was doing with my daughter, right? I think I told
Yeah.
you we do our crunch and brunch sort of thing out here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So again, that was an activity that's a bonding activity for me.
Yeah.
And yes, she's still ahead of me, but not as much as she was before.
Yeah, Daddy's coming to get you.
And even for her, she was like, "Oh man, you almost got me today." So
Yeah.
it changes, and that's it. Go back to the process, and kind of figuring out your why. Who are you, and why do you want to? Why does it matter?
That's
Why
how
does
we
it matter?
always start. We always
Yeah,
start by sharpening the mental axe. And many
yeah,
people skip that step and then they perform well for a couple of weeks, but then some obstacles come along in their life, like like even if it's not an obstacle, but it's a pleasant thing like a vacation, but they lose their rhythm and then they fall back into their old habits and then they all of a sudden regain all the weight. This was me 10 years ago or more than
sure,
that. But then this sounds familiar probably, right? This losing the rhythm. And this is why we always write a success manifesto. What else did we do? So every client's journey looks like a
sure,
little bit differently. Everything needs to be
yeah,
customized to each client.
yeah.
What did we do in your situation after
My
we did
situation,
the
for sure.
success manifesto, after
Yeah.
we ran the blood work and found out everything that's going on under the hood here? Like,
Yeah.
walk us through the process.
Sure, yeah. I mean, and the blood work was massive too. Like number one,
Mm.
so convenient, like literally came to
Yeah,
my house. I worked
yeah,
early in the morning, so I would
uh,
typically leave by 6 a.m. They
yeah.
came
Wow.
before that,
Okay.
right? Like, which is great because from a
Uh,
male perspective and testing testosterone, you
uh-huh.
want it in the morning.
Yes, you want it in the morning.
Needs to be within the first 2.5 to 3 hours
Mm,
of you waking up, right?
mm.
So of course that works out
Yeah,
before you leave. I wasn't up 3 hours before going
yeah.
to work at that point, but so the fact that that's part of the system, and
Uh-huh.
that's information, that's data for,
Yeah.
for you to work with and give back to me. And then we started to
Yes.
looking at what
T
kind of
taking out the
supplements.
guesswork. We gotta
Exactly.
understand where is your body at. Like we gotta have data. You don't run your business based on feelings and guesswork, right? And we don't run your health without data either. We want
Exactly.
facts. Yeah.
And
Okay.
and then starting to build that baseline, right? What do my
Mm-hmm.
meals need to look like? What am I missing, and what needs to be there on a
Mm-hmm.
consistent basis to ensure that, yeah, if I'm eating 100% great, but how
Mm-hmm.
often is 100% going to happen? Like
Yeah, yeah,
not like it's pretty tough. Even if
yeah.
you're to say, yeah, I can do that for a day, for 2 days, could
Uh,
you do it for
uh,
a month?
uh.
You know what I mean? Like very difficult when it comes to eating, I found to be at that level, but can I be at 80%, the
Mm-hmm.
majority of the time? And maybe that, coincides with a 90% or
Mm-hmm.
100% every once in a while. Now my
Mm-hmm.
ratio, my percentage is
Yeah,
better. Not to
yeah, yeah.
mention, I've shifted my baseline from when I was eating probably at like 50%.
Yeah,
Like so
yes.
already I've like gained so much in
Yeah.
that way. And then
Uh,
reprogramming of oh no, this is what my meal looks like,
okay.
right? It doesn't look like it did before. And I've shifted, and yet still enjoying. That was one thing
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning that we really worked on, is like it's not meant to be, punitive, like it's not meant to, you're not meant to suffer through this
Yes.
process per se.
No.
It's not necessary. And I never felt that I did. I
Ah,
never felt that I
that
did.
that's
Is
awesome.
it difficult to change sometimes? Yeah, change is difficult, and for
Yeah,
some people more than others.
yeah.
But again, when you add it to the manifesto, when you add it to information,
Mm,
whatever I was
mm,
doing didn't work.
mm,
So,
mm,
go back to your point of business. If I did the
mm.
same thing in business and it didn't work, one, you're out of
Yeah.
business.
Yes.
Like, so
Yeah.
you have nothing to talk about because
Yeah.
you're not going to be moving forward. That kind of thing. So, and this is it, right? It's like that opportunity to kind of look at yourself, and people that are in business, they do it. Quarterly
Mm,
review, annual
mm,
review. You're making
mm,
your goals.
mm,
You're making,
mm.
you're setting your projections. All those
Again,
types of
looking
things
at
are happening.
numbers. Ah,
What about
yeah.
you?
Yeah. Yeah. What
Where are
about your
you?
body? Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
where
the
are you in the
CEO of your
equation?
body. You're the
Yeah,
CEO of your body. If your
yeah,
CEO in your business doesn't perform well for years, you would look for ways to change it. Either train this guy or like find someone new, right? And if your body's not performing well, then again, you gotta change something, right?
yeah.
You gotta find another approach. Okay.
And even for yourself in your business, if you didn't have the skills, you're not gonna, oh well, hey, I don't have the skills, and then just like
Mm.
continue. You go and find somebody that had those skills,
Yeah.
right? And so
Exactly.
me, that's you,
Yeah.
right? Like for me, it was kind
Yeah.
of like, that's not my life. That's not where I've been.
Uh,
That's not what I'm doing.
uh,
And the fact that similar in business, and you look at people that do mentoring,
mm.
right? You want to find somebody that's done it in the past, right? You're looking to do a
Yeah.
$10 million company or whatever else. It's way easier to talk to somebody who's been there and understands
Mm.
their steps. Maybe your steps aren't the same as them, but it's
Mm.
really tough to talk to somebody who's maybe done a million trying to do 10 times that, right?
Mhm.
So your numbers worked for me as well, because as much as you'd lost 50, I was looking to lose probably 80. Like the
Mm.
numbers in my head was like 70 or 80 in
Mm.
order to kind of
Mm.
get to where
Mm.
I wanted to be.
Mm.
And so
Mhm.
to think that in those 3 months and that kind of thing, I got to my halfway point, phenomenal, phenomenal.
The number on the scale won't matter to you at all, Matt, once you're done. What will matter for you is that you have a system that
100%.
integrates well within your day-to-day life, and that you look in the mirror and you became that person who knows his body, who knows how to manipulate the body composition, who knows his brain as well. The mind is a powerful thing, and it can be your best friend or it can be your worst enemy. And this is also why we are so big on the mental transformation, on the mental game. But yeah, so we've covered the nutrition. So the nutrition needs to be, yeah, not any extremes. I mean, you probably did some diets before, right? So I
I've
think
done everything. No sugar, no wheat. Like I've done all the things, right? So and had, I've had success for a period of
it
time.
all works in the beginning until it doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know that so well. I know that so well. I cut out everything under the sun, and then it always worked for a couple of weeks. I was consistent with it, and then exception here, exception there, or I was just binge eating on the stuff that I forbid myself on the weekends. When no one
sure.
was looking, and I thought, oh,
Yeah,
those
yeah,
calories don't count. Okay,
yeah.
so we dialed in the nutrition. What about exercise? How did we handle this?
Yeah, so I think that, like again, it was one of those things that was incremental, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
first steps of adding 2,000 steps to whatever I was doing. So
Mm-hmm.
again, I have my own
Yeah.
baseline,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
that was, great.
Yes.
Now just add to that, right? And
Yeah.
then just add to that piece. And so it's kind
Yes.
of like, okay, so now I'm not thinking like, oh, I need to do 10,000 steps, and maybe that's where somebody else is and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the difference is
Yes.
increasing what you were doing
Yes.
before, because
Yes.
that was keeping
Optimizing.
me at this level, right? It was keeping
Exactly.
me. This isn't good for podcast, my
Yeah.
video level here, but
Yeah.
from a podcast perspective, at the
Uh-huh.
level that you're at, add to it, and then have that be
See
a new
what you
baseline.
can be. Yes. See what you can do. See what you can do
Yeah.
consistently. What
Yes.
integrates well within your day-to-day life. And this probably the number went up over the weeks and months, right? So you
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
dialed in that habit,
Well,
and then you yeah.
because it became easier, right? Like initially, so
Exactly.
that's the thing. People need to, number one, they need to be ready to invest in themselves, right? If that's the first and foremost. You got to be ready
Yeah.
to invest in yourself.
Also, time, money, energy, thoughts, reflection, right? This
Yeah,
all takes this is all an investment. Then
yeah,
you get a return on your investment if you
exactly.
invest in the right things, right?
And very similar to the rocket ship, right? Where it's going to be a heavier load at the beginning, right? There was
Yes.
way
Yeah.
more thinking for
Yeah.
me at the beginning, and I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like what am I going to eat and those types
Yeah.
of things. But
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
I got that in, again, that became the new baseline. So now I
Yeah.
don't have to think about that piece. Now what
Yes.
I'm also, like you kind of call it stacking, right? When you're doing habits and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So
Exactly.
now what's the next thing that I'm going to put on top of that?
Yeah.
Because that's working. So
Yeah.
now I'm putting something, I'm working. So for me, I did the food and the steps kind of like coinciding, and then adding the strength training. And I happened to find pickleball. So,
Mm-hmm.
less specific pickleball, and I pop up here in
Yeah. Shout
DC,
outs.
Elevation
Uh-huh.
Athletics, like those three, organizations for me
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
allowed me access
Yeah.
And before, again, over 10 years ago, I did CrossFit, but part of what happened there for me was the limitations of the hours and when the classes were.
Yeah.
Now you find something that's one, it could be outside, or two,
Yeah.
some of these facilities are 6
Yeah.
a.m. to midnight.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can't find time
Yes.
between 6 a.m. and midnight, you're not making the time.
But the bottom line is you found something that you enjoy doing. And it's not the most extreme, might not be
No.
the most efficient for fat loss, but it
Sure.
made you stay consistent with it. That is the whole point. So you've got the walking, we've got the pickleball, strength training. What did we change there? Well, and what has changed for you there?
Added it because I wasn't doing any of it,
Okay.
right? And then the other thing is just how easy it was, right? The thing was designed, and again, working with the team, like with John, so shout out to John as well. And something didn't work for me. It was like, well, let's just switch that out.
Yeah.
Like it's not like a big, and again, it wasn't ever cookie cutter, right? It wasn't, oh, well, let's just put you on plan B then. It was like, no, we're looking at this. And, I talked to him about kind of mobility or access and, wanting to make sure that I could still move for pickleball, my new passion, right? But at the end of the day, just building on those strengths of, full body exercises and those types of things. And, we talked about some of the challenges sometimes. Like I had 2 vacations during that 3-month, right? And so you're like, well, now what am I going to do? I'm not going to have access to the gym per se, whatever else. What can you do? So we would talk about that before hitting the road. The other thing, going back to food just briefly, was, the thought of these social situations.
Socializing.
Right? Like, oh, now I can't go. And it was like, what was interesting, again, going back to how much you thought at the beginning, eventually it became the norm. If I knew I was going somewhere, I definitely found out where I was going. I just go to their menu and I start looking. I have 2 or 3 decisions before I ever get in there. Number one, I'm a better guest because I'm not sitting there saying, no, we can't order yet, just wait, right? But I'm making good decisions for me, regardless of what other people are doing. So you're not you're not like torn or drawn by like, I'm going to have, whatever treat myself or whatever. Because you're like, no, I know how much, I think the other thing that we talked about was almost like how like a calorie financial, like again, just how much business
investing
there
calories.
is in, our body being a CEO, where it's kind of like, how many dollars do I have? Well, how many calories do I have for the day? And where have I spent those? And so we all have the freedom to make whatever decisions you want, right? But make smart decisions the same way that you would in business, right? Like
you invest your calories. We've talked about investment before, but you also invest your calories. You are a calorie investor, and there are high ROI foods like the high protein, the lean protein stuff. There are high ROI foods in terms of satiety, in terms of nutrients, in terms of fun. So one of the key principles, maybe it's a quick takeaway for some of the listeners, is if there are 2 options who are equally sexy to you on the menu. Maybe you're at an Italian restaurant and there's a steak on the menu and there's a pizza on the menu, and you like steak and you like pizza. Go for the steak. It will have a higher return on investment in terms of fun per calorie. Okay. So this is one of the basic principles. You learn how to be a better calorie investor when it comes to nutrition, and you also learn how to burn more calories in the same amount of time when it comes to exercise. Although exercise is not primarily to burn calories, exercise is for overall fun and health, and like mental health as a business owner as well. You got to get the energy out, right? But then so we touched on the nutrition, we touched on the exercise, lifestyle. What were the lifestyle changes?
I mean, number one, the planning, right? Some of the planning components of when am I going to do these things? Even with the pickleball, I ended up having essentially almost like 3 days where I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. The other thing that does in that world is you start to see similar people. So now you have like a social component that's working in with that. And you're like, oh, hey, I'll see you next Friday and that kind of thing, right? And now you're looking forward to that. So even if you weren't feeling like it, you kind of, you want to see.
It's on the calendar. And once you're there, you are all of a sudden feeling
Exactly.
like, right? Yeah,
And
if
the
it's not on the
prioritization,
calendar,
right?
organization, if it's not on the calendar, it's not real. And treat your exercise, treat your meals almost like a boardroom meeting
Yes.
that you have. Like you wouldn't let your business partner like wait you and so this is the most important meeting of your day when you have a workout schedule, when you have a pickleball session scheduled, like this planning. What about the weekly reflection? Do you think that this was helping you?
Well, yeah, because again, it's the where am I?
Mm,
Right? Like
mm,
where am I? What worked,
mm.
what didn't, those
Yes.
types of things. And then the ability to get feedback from the coach and say, okay, well, why don't we try this week, or why don't we
Mm,
aim for
mm,
that?
mm,
Because again,
mm.
we haven't talked about sleep.
Yeah.
Like, and
Talk about
we
sleep.
we all as work warriors, feel
Yeah.
that less sleep is better because you can, push through
Oh,
and all this sort of stuff,
yeah.
right? And I was like, where did that idea come from? Like,
Yes,
sleep is
I know.
sleep is wonderful, like,
Uh,
and when you understand the body, and it's like, well, that's when the recovery is happening. That's when all these
mm,
things can, actually go through and start working. When is that
mm,
going to happen
mm,
if you're like
mm.
going 24/7, brain, body, and everything
Yeah,
else, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and that's what I mean. So those weekly reflections allow you to say, how am I doing in food? How am I doing in activity? How am I doing in steps? How am I
Mm,
doing in, my mood, or, like my sleep? Like, and then you
mm,
get a better picture of all the things that incorporate and
mm,
affect us
mm,
as a
mm,
whole
mm.
human being, right?
Yeah. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
We touched on the mental transformation. What have been your the mental breakthroughs that you're the most proud of, Matt?
Yeah, I think really. So Ryan Reynolds just recently released a movie on Amazon Prime called I Like Me, and it's a
Yeah.
movie about John Candy,
Uh-huh.
famous comedian here in
Love it.
Canada, and
Yeah.
obviously great movies all throughout. But watching that really connected me to my story, because
Mm,
in that movie he talks about how his dad died at 35.
mm,
You know, he ended up dying at 45, because same thing. His wife started saying like, "Oh man, now I'm buying double X. Now I'm buying triple X." By the time he passed away, 5X he was at, right? So that wasn't something that he was focusing on. When I told you
mm.
about my birthday, my dad passed away at 56. I turned 55. So you
Mm-hmm.
stop and look and say, I have choices right now, right?
Mm,
Do I want to be around for my daughter, for my wife, for my family, for
mm,
others that I'm having an impact on a business? You see, my
mm,
background is that right now I'm doing some work with United Way and fundraising and that type of thing. This
mm.
is giving back to the community, right?
Awesome.
And so it's like that opportunity to say, I can't do that if I'm not here.
Yeah.
I can't do that if I'm not here.
The
And so
world needs
what's
you.
it take for me to be here? It takes
Mm,
these things.
mm,
Right? So
mm,
that's a massive mental shift when you realize that you're an important cog in the wheel of life.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah. Okay. Did you have any doubts or concerns before joining Fit Executive Co?
Well, the only the because I hadn't experienced how you operate, right? I haven't
Yeah.
experienced what that was. And so because I've done so many things over the
Mm,
years, right?
mm,
We
mm.
just told you how old I was. So it's like there's plenty of opportunity within that time frame, and different types of gyms and different types of plans and different types of nutrition and all those things,
Mm,
right? And
mm,
so, but the system, right?
mm,
Like all of it it's not one thing. It's all
mhm.
connected
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
It's, because the accountability becomes important. The reflection becomes important, right? The new baseline becomes
yeah.
important, right? And because
Uh,
now you're just building on what is now new to you that
yeah,
becomes old,
yeah,
because
yeah,
that's what I
yeah,
mean. Like the
yeah.
places where I would get where I stopped have to think, I was like,
Uh,
wow, those were the surprises, I think, for me, where it was kind of like, I don't even think about that anymore.
yeah, yeah,
Someone
yeah,
says, "Oh, hey, let's go out." I'm like, "Hey, where?"
yeah.
Right? Or before, I'm like, "Oh my God, where can we go? What is that?" Like you
Uh,
start panicking or whatever, because you're like, "I don't think I'll be able to eat. You can just
mm,
sit around and watch people and drink water and lemon, or you know what I mean?" And that wasn't it at all. It
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
great. One, I know it's going to happen, so I can budget my calories accordingly. I'll
Uh-huh.
be, I'll be back heavy for that day. Great.
Mm,
That's
mm,
doable, right?
mm,
So it became how much at the beginning of the, like I say, that's why I use that rocket ship analogy, right? Like it's a lot at the beginning. And so what I wasn't sure about was could I handle that at that time of my life?
mm.
But then you insert the why, and that becomes more powerful and stronger than
Yes,
anything else that's going on,
yes, yeah,
right? Because that's going to push you through.
yeah,
If you thought you lost the rocket, then the booster kicks in, right? And
yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
thing. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is oftentimes the case that people feel like they are too busy to tackle this project, to change their lives and to change their bodies. What do you say to these people now?
You're not a priority to yourself if you're making that choice, right? And then when are you going to make the decision? So it's like, what are you working towards? You want to have a
Mm,
successful business, but for what?
mm,
You want to have a successful business so that you pass away and then somebody else just takes that over, and like that's not why you're doing it. You're
mm,
doing it most likely to enjoy life, so you can either
mm,
give back to the community, give back to your family, give back and
mm.
enjoy the fruits of your labor. But you can't do
Yeah,
that if you're not around, right? Not to mention feel good while you're around.
yeah,
Like
man.
that's what I love is like live
Yeah.
life,
Uh-huh.
and the ability to, like I said, I had two vacations. I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, like one of them was the Stampede, the Calgary
Uh,
Stampede. It's a big thing. There's lots of drinking, lots of food, lots of that.
uh,
Maybe I didn't do it as much. Guess what? I still had a great time,
yeah,
still had a
yeah,
great time.
yeah.
Yeah. It just figure out where you are. What is your baseline now and where do you want to
Mm,
be? And if you're not in that equation yourself, then take a second look
yeah, yeah,
because it's not going to work without you.
yeah. Yes, and also we gotta meet everybody where they're at. If they have a
They're at.
70, 80-hour work week,
Yeah.
then we
Yeah.
probably don't do the same things as if someone has a more regular 40-hour work week, Like
Yeah.
it really depends on the situation. So, but if you only focus on the 20% that give you 80% of the leverage of the results, then it all of a sudden becomes doable. But you got to find out what are those 20% in
Sure.
your situation that give you the 80% of the results. And then you start building momentum. The rocket ship slowly takes off. And in the beginning, it might even feel overwhelming.
Sure.
But then those mistakes are necessary to course correct. When you sit in a plane, the pilot is off track for 95% of the time,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
about making those little corrections, and then you get from A to B. If you don't make those corrections, you go the wrong way, and this is
Well,
not the
and you're
way.
not doing it by yourself, right? That's why, like,
Yeah,
you get get the
yeah.
co-pilot.
You
That's
you
what I would say to
delegate
them.
it.
Get the
Yes,
co-pilot. You want to be the
you,
pilot of your plane? Great. Get a great
exactly.
co-pilot, which is where you and your team comes in, right?
Yes,
I didn't have to worry about all the details of the navigation.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, that comes in handy for sure. You've mentioned your wife and your daughter earlier. What do they think about your transformation?
Well, it almost impacted I was almost single for a period of time, Arnie,
Ah,
and not for the wrong reason, but my ring
huh? What is it? Yeah.
started falling off.
Oh shit.
So that was like one of those, like, I didn't expect that to happen. All of a sudden, when
Uh,
I went to wash my hands one day, I was like, whoa, what's happening here?
uh,
But for those that are concerned for their marriage that are listening to this podcast, it's fine. Amazon, you just get a little, it's a rubber thing that goes
oh,
around your
cool.
ring that increases the size. So I'm all good. I'm all good.
Awesome. Awesome.
My daughter, obviously, she's benefited from just being able to have more activity with me, and
Uh,
she sees the difference in me. So I introduced pickleball to her. At first, she wasn't interested at all. When we went on our trip, we played 5 out of 7 days,
mm,
and
mm,
it was fun. Like it wasn't like, oh, come on, we got to go do it. It was like, are we doing this today? Right? Like,
mm,
and great for her to have that at 17 years old. Great.
yeah.
Understand that love and that passion and that ability to
Uh,
go and we played stranger sometimes. We'd get there and
mm,
somebody would say, hey, do you guys want to play us? And we're like, okay. Right. So
yeah.
now that interaction and that type of thing that wouldn't be necessarily happening if you're just, they're at home sitting on their
Yeah.
screens and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And then I'll extend it because even my mother-in-law, we live with my mother-in-law as well. She was like, wow, man, this is whatever you're doing is like working.
Mm,
So she actually, and these are first steps or whatever, but she went on and she did 30 days with no sugar. But she
Oh,
hadn't
cool.
done that before.
Okay.
But it was
Okay.
inspired by
Yeah.
seeing kind of like, hey, you're making changes
Yeah.
and it's working for you. Let me see what, and she had good results from that. And she was kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
even at an older age, like that's the other thing I would say. Change can happen at any time,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
You're never too old to reestablish a new baseline for you.
And you're
But you
also
have
never too young. You're never too
and or
young
too
to
young,
go.
yeah,
You're
to
never too
do it
young to
right.
go.
You know what I mean? Like that's why I say,
Yeah.
like sometimes, man, if that would have happened 20 years ago, where would I
Uh,
be now,
yes. But
right?
where will you be in 20 years because of this, right?
Well, one will be alive, right,
Yes.
and active, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the it's a catch 22. You don't want
Uh,
to be active because you're too heavy, and like and all
yeah.
these things,
Yeah.
and so
Your
then
knee
it's kind of like
hurts.
where now you find and like I'm playing against some older people in the pickleball
Uh,
world, right? And you're kind of like, wow, I hope I'm that person when I'm
yes.
75 or whatever else,
Yeah.
right? It's great.
Uh, uh,
So that incorporating those new things. And like I said, for me, I was just fortunate to find that it became really easy for me to
mm,
do that,
mm,
especially with those hours and the
mm,
enjoyment,
mm,
and
mm,
and then being able to incorporate. Like right now, both my wife and my daughter are playing, not as consistently as I am,
mm,
but it
mm.
still allows for a family activity, right? Like we can still
Absolutely.
go
Yeah.
out there and do something. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's great that you inspire your daughter and you inspire your wife, and you're not the one holding them back, if they wanted to
exactly.
play. Yeah.
Well, and
Okay.
and the message there for, if you are a father out there, it's like one that change can happen, right? Like show them that change can happen. That
Absolutely.
yes, stuff might be difficult, but when
Yes.
you apply yourself and when you make yourself a priority, like
Yeah.
what father out there would not want their daughter or son to be a priority in their own life?
Yeah, and to be fit and healthy and in love with
Yeah,
themselves, right?
yeah,
And they don't do what you say, they do what you do. They model after your behavior. And you will leave a legacy of health now for your daughter and hopefully for your grandkids at some point, because you made this investment in yourself.
yeah. I mean, like again, and the example of that is the real one, right? My daughter's willing to get up at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday to go and
Mm-hmm.
do a crunch and brunch, right? Because she knows
Mm-hmm.
the activity happens before the meal, right?
Yeah,
As part of our
yeah,
day.
yeah.
And, and we're able to enjoy that. And, so she
Awesome.
started like looking at that from those angles as well. It's
Uh,
great. It's
yeah,
great.
beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think this transformation is a sustainable transformation? Are you able to maintain those habits? Do you have any doubts in your mind that this is going to be the last transformation here?
Yeah, I do because again, the baseline has moved, right? So
Yeah,
there's not as much thinking as there was before. It's
yeah,
not difficult. Like it's
yeah.
not difficult because of that new baseline. It becomes the
Uh,
standard, right? That becomes
uh,
the new standard.
yeah.
And when I incorporate it into the business mind or whatever else, it
Mm-hmm,
it makes sense. It's a system,
mm-hmm,
right? Like anyone who has a business that has systems versus not systems,
mm-hmm,
those are two different businesses. Like
mm-hmm.
they're running very differently, And so when you have the one with the systems, you just go, oh, what's going on? And the ability to go back and say, oh, it's not working here. Ah, I stopped doing this, right? So there was
Yeah,
a breakdown in the system. Well, then you just start doing that again,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You shifted a priority. Like right now it's a very busy time with some of the
Mm,
fundraising pieces. So the activity component is more challenging.
yeah.
For me, that's a blip. That's not a oh well that's the way that it is now. It's like that's a blip during this period of time, and we're gonna have those in our lives, right?
It's also not an on or off switch, it's a dial.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
it's a dimmer, you dim it up or you dim it down, but you can adjust the system to your everyday life. Also, fat loss and fitness is gonna look a lot different in summertime than in winter time. So you gotta have an adaptable system. This is very important. This is critical.
Exactly. And that's it. It's that shifting between seasons as well, right?
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
for me in summer, I was going to a farm, I was picking up fruit, by the
Mm.
by the pounds, right? And so
Yeah.
that made it real easy. I went every week, I grabbed X, I went
Uh-huh.
home, and then all throughout the week, then it'd be gone. Then I'd go and get there
Uh-huh.
again. My activity, I'm outside,
Yeah.
I'm inside,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
that may
Yeah.
be. Now most things are moving inside. So you gotta kind of figure out what does
Yeah.
that look like. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Matt,
Yes.
final words. Would you recommend Fit Executive Co to other business owners and executives who want to transform their bodies, and why?
So I'd say absolutely if they're prepared to invest in themselves the same
Mm-hmm.
way that they would in their business. If they want to be successful for themselves, like
Mm-hmm.
it starts with the person, right? It starts
Mm-hmm.
with that,
Mm-hmm.
and the why, because it's worth the initial effort, right? Like when you think of like the view you'd have from a rocket ship after it's like gets out
Yeah.
in orbit, and you're like, oh my God, this is like
Uh,
amazing. That's the view that you get to look at in the mirror,
yeah.
right? Every day when you look, because you see the results,
Yeah.
right? You see the results of the effort that was put in at the beginning. And then that
Mm-hmm.
starts the new cycle of like, okay, great. I got to keep this going because like for me, I'm not at where I want to be yet.
Yes.
So I'm not, I'm not stopping. So when you say, well, do you think it's
You never
sustainable?
stop.
100%, right?
You
Because
never stop.
then that's the difference is that,
Yeah.
kind of continuing to get to keep that going. Like we didn't talk the fact, lost 5 inches. Like the number
Yeah.
of pounds is one thing, but lost 5 inches on my
Yes.
waist, right?
Yes.
Like 5% body fat. Like those types of things. It's not just a number on the scale, right? That's a
No.
look,
Yeah.
that's a feel, like those
Yes.
types of things. So if you're looking to feel differently, if you're looking to look differently, if you're looking to be different in those aspects of life, do not wait.
Yeah.
I know you'll have a link in the bottom, or there.
Yeah.
I'm happy to connect with people if they want to connect with me, LinkedIn or Instagram, that kind of thing. I'm easy to
Yes.
find. It's only Matt with one T, right? So easy to find. Happy to give them more details of my experience, and highly recommend the Fit Executive for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I was
Arnie.
about to ask where can people find you and connect?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is Matt, M-A-T, Boyer, B-O-Y-E-R. My
Okay.
Instagram is a little bit different. It's MAT_Boyer, B-O-Y-E-R 70.
Yeah.
But either one of those is probably the ones I use the most. And so happy to connect, and just let me know that you listen to the podcast and you have some questions, and happy to connect with you, and join you on your journey if you're ready to get going. I'm happy to be along with you. So
Awesome, man.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for trusting in yourself. Thank you for the trust that you put on us. And yeah, it was a blast. It was a blast. And I know that when we talk in a year from now, you will be at your goal body fat percentage, and then you'll be still working on putting on more lean muscle mass and getting healthier. And when we talk in 30 years from now, you will be the happiest grandpa out there, still crushing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome, man.
Oh, a
Awesome.
pleasure.
Well,
Pleasure, Arnie. Yeah,
all mine. All mine. Thank you so much for your time, and we talk soon, okay?
sounds good. Okay.
Awesome, man. Thanks. Okay.
And that's it for today's show. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us. If you want to lose weight but don't want to do it all by yourself, go to arnewildner.com/call and book an appointment for a free 15-minute phone call with us, where we'll look at your situation, your obstacles, and your goals to find out if and how we can help you.